Okay, I guess we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Murray. I am the marketing director for Florida State Guardianship Association, and I'm speaking with Cindy Kramer today. How you doing, Cindy?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
And Cindy is a guardian. So that leads us kind of into the cases. I mean, you're kind of on a streak now. This is your second kind of case you kind of helped out with, right? So
Well,
without, go
it's
ahead.
my second conviction. I'm working
Conviction.
actually on three others, hopefully to get
Really?
them convicted as well. Yes.
Wow. And this all in Broward, huh?
No, actually, this case is in Dade. My
Okay.
first case was in Broward.
Okay, okay. So without getting, I guess, obviously too much detail on names and stuff, to kind of tell me about, at least the last, the conviction and how, and like, what was the situation? How did it come about?
Um, a Department of Children and Family Service worker investigated it way back in, oh boy, I want to say 2013.
Wow, it's going
Was
way.
it started, right? And the woman actually was printed everything so that I would have it in front of me. Um, oh, here it is. This is it. Yes. She was interviewed and she was arrested for the exploitation of an elderly under 50,000, theft from the elderly 10,000 to 50,000, and organized scheme to defraud under 50,000. And that's what the woman was arrested for. And we just got the conviction, I believe, 2 to 3 weeks ago, and we're in 2022.
And they were no relation to the, really.
No.
So how did they even get access to this elderly person?
This elderly person who is now deceased was living with her sister, and because Children and Family Services came in and declared both of them to be incapacitated adults, I was given off of a wheel both sisters to take care of in a guardianship. And we filed, or the Children and Family Services filed under the now deceased sister. The one who is the surviving sister is 103 years old, and she's in a nursing home. She's still with us. And what happened was,
so the surviving sister is the sister of the defendant?
yes,
Gotcha.
yes. And so the perpetrator, which I guess I could call her because she's
Yep,
convicted,
the perp,
right? The convicted felon
right?
moved in with these two elderly sisters and started to siphon money off. They found lots of checks. There was an account that supposedly had $500,000 in it that was emptied out. The doctor had found her to be dehydrated, confused, forgetful. Her sugar level was over 400, and they sent her to the emergency room. And upon follow-up, he still found her, even after he treated her, found her to have capacity issues. And so the account, which had $500,000 in it, was overdrawn. In 2013, the Miami Beach police confiscated several canceled checks that were written by the felon that had already been cashed. They also confiscated the Social Security card and the apartment deed, which the exploiter had in her possession. There were several checks written to several different people for significant amount of money at cafes, to personal people that they couldn't explain who these people were. They also provided her with supposedly receipts for improvements that were made to the ward's home, but we didn't see any. Wait, hold on.
It's okay.
Hey, Jazz. What happens when you work at home? You'll have to edit all this out.
No, it's okay.
They provided receipts for the purchase of some improvements on the home, like tile and carpet, but there were no improvements done to their home. So obviously
Really?
those improvements were done to someone else's home.
Interesting.
The petitioner, or not, the felon was going to put the condo up for sale that these two sisters lived in,
Oh, wow.
and she provided a copy of a power of attorney for the one sister who is deceased.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting.
In a search of the property, they found out that the taxes had never been paid.
Very
So
interesting.
she was just gaining
So
access to them.
they basically left a paper trail that was, you know what I mean? They left a trail that investigators eventually caught up to her.
Yes. And so originally the proposed guardian was the guardianship program of Dade County, which is for indigent wards, and the state funds that program. But after they found some Social Security payments and a small account at a bank, they couldn't keep that. So they had to turn the case over to a professional guardian, and I was chosen off of the wheel, I'm assuming.
So they were not under guardianship. The two sisters were not under guardianship.
Right. Not at the beginning. When all of this happened, and that's how a guardian was appointed, because the Department of Children and Families pursued this and had deemed them to be incompetent and being exploited. And so that's how the guardianship became established in Dade County.
And health-wise, you said they were incapacitated, or they were?
Yes, they were both mentally incapacitated, pretty pleasantly confused. Let's put it that way. And right, and the one who had passed away, who's actually the victim in this case, she had a very high sugar count and eventually had to have a leg amputated and eventually died. As a result, she had gangrene from the infection in her leg. We couldn't save her. It was already too late.
The power of attorney, how did the sister, how did the perp get power of attorney over both of them, I guess, or just one?
I only know about the one. I don't know about the other. It's very easy to get power of attorney. You can download a form off of the internet and just say, here, sign this. It's very easy. And you have to be,
you have to get that notarized, though.
That's easy to do as well.
Interesting.
You have your buddy come over who's a notary and say, she's fine. She's going to, look, she wants to sign it. She loves me. I take care of her, sign it. And the lady says, yes, I love her.
But when that happens, doesn't the notary, aren't they in trouble as well?
Not necessarily.
Really?
The notary didn't do anything wrong here.
No, you're right.
The notary did their job, and in this case, it was certainly someone who saw an opportunity and took advantage of, two elderly, pleasantly confused ladies.
Yes, yeah. So, what's the amount before it turns becomes a felony? What's the?
I don't know that. You'd have to ask an attorney.
Yeah,
I don't
know. Very, very interesting.
Because that's based on the statute.
Yes. Okay.
But people aren't aware the power of attorney, and since that time, the power of attorney laws have changed in Florida, making them even a little bit worse. So when you sign a power of attorney, you don't have to be deemed incapacitated for your power of attorney to take over.
Right,
it used to be that you had to get doctor's letters in order to have it validated, but now you don't need that anymore. And the minute that you sign your signature on that power of attorney, you have given all the power to the power of attorney. They could go tomorrow to your bank and clean you out, and it's legal.
Amazing.
So you have to be really careful who you choose as a power of attorney. It's not always an alternative to guardianship, which people think that, oh, don't worry, I'll get a power of attorney and I'll get a healthcare surrogate and then I'll never have to have a guardian. But more times than not, the power of attorney, who usually is a family member or a friend, seizes the opportunity and cleans out bank accounts and does other things.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, in the plea agreement, the convicted felon agreed to pay back some of the money. So, but they're also going to be serving time as well, right?
Well, no, we were supposed to be getting a house arrest, but she would
Really?
not agree to the house arrest at the last minute. She said, I'm not going to sign anything. I'm not going to agree to the plea bargain, which she did have a deal, and backed out at the last minute. So what she's going to be doing is she will be on probation and have to see a probation officer. She will have a felony record that follows her until she
Yes.
dies. And she will also have to pay restitution. And the living sibling, who's, I said, 103 years old, she'll be getting monthly money, not a lot, but monthly money. And she herself is indigent. She would have gotten that money had the money still been around and not stolen. So the reimbursement is going to be paid to her, and we're going to use it to get a nurse's aide to visit with her in the hospital.
Now, you as the guardian, like, what was your involvement in it aside from the actual investigation that was done by DCF or I'm sure police officer at that point, right? Mhm.
Yes, in this case, we really didn't have a lot of involvement because it happened before I was appointed.
Okay.
And I was told a lot of things by various people. We didn't know if they were true or not true. The only thing that we can count on are the legal paperwork documents that are, with the court. But we didn't really have a lot of involvement at the beginning of the case other than to push the state attorney and say, what's going on? When is this going to be heard? What's going on?
So how often does this happen? People trying to take advantage of, elderly people and things like that.
Happens all the time, and that's why the state of Florida has changed the laws, and they put a tougher law in place now that we're actually going to be presenting at our next Broward County Guardianship Association meeting. We're going to be having two attorneys that are going to be presenting that new law that it has more teeth to bite in it now. And I think that there's an opportunity to convict more exploiters. And I think it's important to get the word out that we're going after these exploiters, that they're not going to get away with it. And this is one of the reasons that we want to try to publicize this, and other people, other guardians who have pushed and have helped to get convictions.
Yeah, this seems to be definitely a common thing in Florida. I know of someone personally that this happened to.
Right, everybody does. I was at the hospital last week seeing somebody at Florida Medical Center, and the social worker pulled me aside and said, this is happening to my father. What am I supposed to be doing? So
Yeah.
I get calls. I get at least 2 calls a day from people, friends of family, friends of friends. What do we do?
So who are the players involved that could be aware of the, like, I'm thinking you mentioned the hospital, I think, right? So, people at hospitals and things, for example, could kind of be more attuned to, like, this kind of stuff goes on. So when someone does, you know what I mean? Be on the lookout.
Bankers.
Bankers, right? Okay.
My first case was the wealth management team at Wells Fargo caught it. I
Yes.
called the Department of Children and Family Services and reported it. And that was a significant amount of money. And we got a nice conviction on that. And we got a nice return on the woman's money in that case. And in that case, he was a stockbroker.
Interesting. Now, why did they call DCF and not the police?
That's a great question. I don't know, because I was not the one that reported it. But the bank, when they came in to make the transfer, the banker said, uh-oh, something's wrong here, because this guy married her and she didn't seem to know what was going on. He was much younger than her. And that's what usually happens for a stranger. It's usually someone who's much younger than them. And
They married him?
Oh, yeah. This lady was married. We had to get special powers from the judge to annul the marriage. Not
That's
in this
amazing.
case, in the first case.
Yeah, right. So just thinking outside the box. So I'm a young person. I see an older person. I could take advantage of them. So I get him to sign a marriage contract.
Yeah, he befriended her. He I don't think she knew what she was doing. He took her to the Broward courthouse, and they would not grant a marriage license. So in that case, he took her up to Palm Beach, and as soon as the ink was dry, he rushed her over to Wells Fargo and opened a joint account and tried to move money over. He was using her He was using her credit cards. He was ordering all of these. And this was a different guy. This was a Serbian guy who was here illegally. He opened a warehouse and was importing all this stuff into the warehouse to sell on her credit card. Then she got exploited by her stockbroker, and then she got exploited by a religious leader.
Listen, I think it's a beautiful. I think it's a beautiful love story, if you ask me. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's crazy. That's absolutely amazing. So people are just opportunists out there, and I had no, it's amazing. It's just amazing when stuff happens.
Currently, one of the ones that we're trying to get convicted is a woman who ran a senior living facility, a small group home, and was taking $20,000, $30,000 a month. She was going to the woman and saying, "You haven't paid me rent. You need to pay me my $5,000 rent." 4 days, 5 days in the month, 6 days in the month, and had her pay $5,000. And when the police asked the woman, "Well, why didn't you take more? Why did you only take $5,000 at a time?" her answer to the police was, "I wanted to stay under the radar."
Jeez, that's still a lot of stinking money.
Yeah.
And that was like every few days she was taking it?
Yeah, 5,000 every couple of days.
That's crazy. That's not flying under the radar at all.
No, it is, because when you go to the bank and cash a $5,000 check, they think it's rent. It said rent on it. So
okay,
nobody questioned it. So she went to different branches actually to cash the check, so nobody even knew.
That's amazing.
Right.
Well, this has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot. Tell everyone how they can find you, or if you want people to find you.
Sure. Well, our office address is 7860 West Commercial Boulevard, number 12. We're in Lauderhill. I do have a website, which is www.eldersolutionsinc.com. And our office number is 954-533-6884.
Cool. Awesome.
And I want to give a shout out to the Broward County Guardianship Association, which is part of the Florida State Association. We do wonderful stuff for indigent wards.
Yes. Yeah. Were you at the 35th conference?
Only via Zoom.
Okay. Cool. Now I was there. It was the first time ever, and it was pretty cool. It was an awesome event. Yeah. Cool. All right, Cindy, it was awesome talking with you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. You too.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.